Well, I am honored to be here today. I'm Dr. Michelle Johnson with the illustrious Carlean Gill, and she's come into town today to join us for the Institute of Public Scholarships event called Audacity, Envisioning Black Utopia. And so we've had a number of conversations, but we're especially interested this time in talking about how Black people have been creating their little utopias and thinking about the future and building communities and creating spaces that we could be our authentic, audacious Black selves. And so when I think about audacity, I think about Carlean Gill, and when I think about envisioning a future, I think about you. And so I'm so happy that you are here from Frisco, Texas, to join us. You were with us last night for our Remembering the Block series, and today will be our headliner for a conversation with representatives from 4 different Black resorts here in Michigan. A lot of people have heard about Idlewild. They haven't necessarily heard about some of the other resorts that we had in the state of Michigan and still have in the state of Michigan. But you have foundation in one of the big kahuna of resorts here in Michigan. And so I thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It is such a pleasure to be here and to explain and talk about a little of my experience. At the age I am have a little history of Ottawa because I was there during the 50s and 60s. And so I will be more than happy to talk about Ottawa and my experience during that time.
Well, thank you for that. We go back, we've been telling people the truth, it's about 26 years now.
Sure.
And tell people a little bit how that started, how our relationship started.
Well, I was in Saginaw, and after my dear friend passed away, Michelle was doing a what was it?
That oral history project.
Oral history project, and I met her, and she said she wanted to interview me, and because she had heard that I was a showgirl up in Idlewild, Michigan, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. So anyway, she came over. You were still in college.
Oh, no,
you
I was
had,
in my first job. Yeah.
that was your job. You was doctor.
Yep.
Dr. Michelle Johnson.
Teaching at Michigan State
yes,
at the time.
And you would come on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, and we would eat. I tried to cook, and I can't cook. and we would sit down and just talk about my life, and she would interview it. So it went on for almost 6 months or so. You were interviewing me, and that's how we started.
That's how we became friends.
Friends, yes.
Yes, it was part of that Saginaw Oral History Project, and I'd been hearing about you for years, especially from Helen Scott. She said, if you're doing this project, you need to talk to Carlean Gill. And I'd heard about you. I'd gotten my hair cut young at the beauty school. And so you were already an icon in Saginaw. I was very happy to come and interview you.
Sure.
Yeah. And so we've talked about Saginaw a couple of times already. I want to start to talk about Idlewild by having a conversation about Arthur Bragg's, one of our preeminent residents in Saginaw, and have you explain a little bit about what his role was in Idlewild and with the Idlewild Revue?
Was to me. Okay. What was going on during that time? I had won a couple of beauty contests in Detroit, Michigan, in Canada, and in Detroit. I had won a beauty contest, and it's a joke that I usually like to talk about.
Tell it.
And the competition was where you had to sell so many tickets, and I had 6 sisters, so we sold a lot of tickets, and I won a mink stole. And then when I went to Ottawa, all the beautiful girls would, and I had my mink stole on, wearing it for 1 year. And so I came home from Ottawa, and I called up the store to bring my, because at that time you used to put it in in the, what
the
is it?
storage, like,
Storage, to keep it nice and everything. So I called the lady up. This is Miss Gill. I like to for you to bring my meat stole home. And the lady said, wait just a minute. She went back, and then she came back and she said, Miss Gill, I'm so sorry. We don't have a meat stole for you, but we do have a dyed muskrat. And so I cried. Anyway, that was a big joke I always told. But anyway, Idlewild was, after winning the contest and what have you, one of the girls I went to school with was in the show, and I went for an interview. And at that time, it was with Ziggy Johnson, School of Dance, and
that was in Detroit,
in
too?
Detroit, yeah. And she asked me, they asked me to come and interview, and Mr. Braggs was coming in town, so I went and interviewed. I was going to Lewis Business College at the time, which is in Detroit. And so I was interviewed, and he asked my mother, and I wasn't quite 21 at that time. I was just 20. And my mother said, well, I trust you, and if this is something you want to do, then okay. She saw the show and thought it was nice, so I went up to Ottawa. And during that time in Ottawa, Mr. Braggs had the Paradise Club, and what he would do is, before having his show, he would go on the road and scout different people, his cooks, his band, and anyway, the show was a 36-piece operation, meaning the band was 12 pieces, the showgirls, the announcer, and three big acts. And at that time, I was working with the Four Tops, and who was it? Arthur Prysock, Ziggy Johnson, and Braggs would go to Boston, send from Boston, New York, and these people would come in and measure us, and then we would get these fantastic, beautiful costumes. And we had rehearsal up there. Mr. Braggs would make sure everything was perfect. The club was set up with tablecloths, knockers, and knockers is like a popsicle knock. Rather than clapping, you would knock. They had cigarette girls. At that time, people smoked, and they had cigarette girls that would come around in their little short dresses, and then the show would look like 6 dancing girls, ponies, and then 2 boys, and then 4 showgirls. And showgirls, I have pictures of it. The showgirls that he picked, one would have blonde hair, one would have black hair, which was my hair was black, and one would have brown hair, and one would be, but we would all be 4 different complexions. And the reason for that, he wanted to show the audience that we were a mixture of colors, and a rainbow of colors. And the costumes that we wore would be something that would complement our color. His purpose for the show, I'll go back to the show. His purpose for the show was to one day be able to go into the white clubs and play and be on the circuit. So back in those days, in the 50s and 60s, it was the black circuit. They call it the black.
The Chitlin circuit.
Chitlin, yeah, the Chitlin circuit. And, so the show was, he wanted it to be so fast that when the people sitting in the audience they couldn't get up to do anything. They just had to be, the show was one thing behind the other. The Ziggy Johnson was the announcer, and he would say, ladies and gentlemen, now Arthur Braggs Idlewild Revue, and we have Arthur Prysock. We have, and name all the people that's on the show, and that's it. He didn't want a lot of talking on it, and everything. So anyway, we go on, and we would have a, what is it, intermission, not intermission, for the kids, a matinee.
Oh, matinee. Mm-hmm.
We would have a matinee for the kids on Sunday. And that would be the little kids that could not get in, but they would come, had dinner. We had dinners at the club, first class chefs. Anyway, it was fantastic. We had I can name people that opened the door for you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And so your particular role in the review was what?
I was, well, like they always say, paid to be beautiful. Just my particular was just to
You
walk.
were like a showgirl?
Showgirl,
Mm-hmm,
which is
mm-hmm.
what they do like in Vegas
Mm-hmm.
and at the time in New York.
So tell me what you would do. So what would one of your routines look like?
Just April in Paris, da 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 da, and we would walk and open the costumes up and just big costumes that would be just fantastic. That's about it.
And I've talked to so many people who were at that sometimes they were younger at the time that were in attendance at the review, and they still remember you. You made such an impact on people with your presence on the stage.
Oh.
And so the Idlewild Revue Bragg's Idlewild Revue would take place during the summer. Tell people a little bit about what Idlewild was like in the summertime.
Oh, let's see, I can remember when we wasn't on the show in the daytime, we'd probably be playing not basketball, but baseball.
Mm-hmm.
You got to help me with the names now. Lottie Body's husband, who was he?
Oh.
Goose Tatum. Goose Tatum and all of them would be out there with the four tops and in the parking lot, and they might be playing baseball, or somebody up in Ottawa in the morning would have breakfast, and they had breakfast for you, and it was just maybe horseback riding. We did roller skating, swimming.
Yeah, you spent time on the lake. There's a couple of really beautiful pictures of you and some of the other women on
on a boat.
On a boat.
Yeah, we had boats and stuff
And
like
there's
that.
a story you told me a long time ago about when they would play Bill Doggett's Honky Tonk.
Oh, it's like the fish would be jumping up out of the lake, and it was the Paradise Lake, which the club sat right on by the lake, and when the music be playing late at night, and Bill Doggett would be playing the honky tonk, we say the fish is jumping up out of the lake, and there was people would come from all over, you know.
So Detroit, Grand Rapids.
Oh, New York, all over, because what happened, when the show would close, then we would go on the road, take off and go on the road.
Ooh,
And it's so much to talk about.
I know. Tell people about the bearing the show.
Okay, so at the end of the show, the night of the show, then everybody would reverse roles. Arthur Prysock might be the headline lady singer, and he would have to sing what that lady sung. We, the four girls, that was showgirls, we would be the four tops or something like that. And so that was, we would exchange roles, and people would come to see that. That was it.
And that was
And
the
we
end
would
of the
close
season.
down the show, and then Braggs, maybe the next day or a couple of days, everybody's still up on the island. He would bring all the liquor that was left over and put it outside, and we'd have a big barn fire and drink and laugh and talk, and then we go home and collect ourselves, and then he meet us back up together, and then we'd go on the road. And we would go to the theater, like the Apollo Theater, the theater in not New York,
Boston,
but
I think
Boston, Washington, and so we were on the road. And during that time, we had to travel by car, and there was a lot of jokes and a lot of things that happened to us on the road. We could not stop on the road at restaurants, and when you're traveling late at night, you had to make sure that you had a lunch or something and just keep going till you get to your destination. And when you get there, there was a lot of hotels that would not stop let you in, so we had to know where we were going, and we used the Green Book, and it was nice. I mean, you just know that what it was and you had to do. And some places we had to go in the back door when we were going into. I remember a couple of clubs that Braggs had got together, but they only would let the show in. And he had to pay us, and he would have to take a gamble on the door. So if nobody come through the door, or it rained when we get there, then he had to pay our salary. I can't think of how that it was worked,
but he always made sure to make sure that his performers were paid.
Paid, yeah.
Always.
And in order to be seen to get in, we had a guy by the name of Roy. Do you remember him? Roy, which was a white guy. And he had a place up in Cadillac, Michigan on the radio. And Braggs would have him to come to the show. And at the show, he would broadcast out. And he would broadcast, say, Traverse City, Reed City, all those cities up there, Grand Rapids. His station went out, and then he would be telling the people what was happening at the Paradise Club.
I know I've been wanting to find some of those recordings. I think it was maybe CBS or something that was maybe doing
I have
some of
his
that.
information, but he's
He's not with us anymore.
And so that's it's so much to talk
There's
about.
so much. So that's why we talked for 6 months.
I'm going from here to there. And
well, let me ask you, Braggs was originally from what?
Saginaw, Michigan.
Saginaw,
Tulsa.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, right?
Yes.
Yep. So he was there, and then moved to Saginaw. Tell us a little bit about what he was doing in Saginaw.
Well, he started out, I think, coming in from Tulsa. He started out trying to work. He wanted to be a doctor and go to college. And that's how he was with the horses and knowed so much about them. And the medicine and stuff like that. So I found that out later. But anyway, he came to Saginaw because they were Ford Motor, General Motors. General Motors was up there. So he got a job at General Motors and he didn't like it. And he began, at that time, the guys used to gamble a lot, and then he began to set up a little gambling place where they would go and gamble, and then he began to get into the policy. And at that time, that was not what, that's what carried the black neighborhoods, was the policy, playing the numbers, and they would help one another. The policy family, if you work for me, then I take care of your family, what have you. And so the policy was very popular, and he became big in
Would you tell us a little bit about how the policy worked?
Okay, the policy was a gentleman would go around and pick up numbers, and then the numbers would come from the racetrack, and you had to call it in. I did it a little. You call it in, and they take out the numbers that have been won, and then they put that together, and then they come up with a number some kind of way. And then after that, they had the red ball. And the red ball was where they put the numbers in a bag, and then they go around to different people's houses and shake and pull out a number, and then they call it out, and people would win, bet on the numbers. And that was before they have the policy now with the state.
The lottery, right? It's
with
really
the
the
state.
foundation for the
Oh,
lottery,
yeah.
isn't it?
Uh-huh.
And they had women and men. I remember
And,
my Aunt Mamie had, well, you remember my Aunt Mamie, had a beauty shop, and there was a lady who would always come in every day, sometimes a couple times a day, and get people's numbers. And, you know, I don't know if she was working for, I don't know who she was working for, but it was a way that people could make money too.
Yeah, because at that time the banks wouldn't loan you any money. And I can later on tell you about what happened to me to make me be who I am.
So was that part of the way that Braggs helped fund what he was doing in Idlewild?
It was all the way. But he had a restaurant, the Hickory House, which was a barbecue place, and that was very popular. And I think he had another little house where they had an after hour.
Did he have a roller rink
Oh yeah,
too?
and the roller. Roller.
So what was Saginaw
and it
like when
burned.
you came to Saginaw?
And
What was Saginaw like when you came to Saginaw?
Okay, what happened was, during the time of show business, and I had been in it about 2 years, Mr. Braggs always had his eye on me. And he would always call me Dark Eyes. And so that was something. So anyway, me and him, somehow he really, really liked me. And he would always tease me, but I never paid him any attention. So one day, Arthur Prysock and Ziggy got him together and told me that we had to go out and look for someone to sing, and would I go along with him? And so I did, and Mr. Braggs started talking to me then, and we became partners for 25 years afterward. And then I have a young daughter named Nikki, and have some grandkids behind that. So me and Braggs was together for 25 years, and so he told me, my mother told me, you won't be beautiful all your life.
She didn't know that, or did she? She didn't see you. She couldn't imagine what she would be like now.
Yeah. She says, you won't be beautiful all your life. So you decide, if you go and stay with this man, you make sure you be independent. Because at that time, Braggs had a lot of influence and a lot of money and could put me up, and I could live very well off. But she said, you won't be beautiful all your life, and you have to be independent. So what I did was, she said, choose a career and have him send you to school for that. So I went to beauty school during the time of the show, and the beauty school was in Saginaw. So when I went on the show, the last year, when I went on the road with the show and was involved with Mr. Braggs, I would come back to Saginaw and go to beauty school. And then I decided to stay in Saginaw, and because he wanted me to stay there. And so
what was happening in Saginaw? I know there was a lot going on 6th Street, for instance. There's a lot going on Potter Street.
Yeah. So at the time I finished beauty school, you had to be in business. After you get out of beauty school, you had to be in a salon, working in someone else's salon for 1 year. So I worked with a young lady in her salon. But the place where we worked, there was down in the basement was a number of places where the people gambled, the restaurants. They had shows, roller skate rings. They had movie theaters that was owned by African American. They had gas stations that was owned. The plants were going really good. The guys were working, and money was flowing very well, and people were living very well, and just living in their own little community. And it was always across the railroad tracks. So
Across the bridge, right?
yeah,
On the
and
other
they
side
had
of the
their
river.
own restaurants. We had our own restaurants, and after they had their own stores. People owned stores, laundromats. Mister, do you remember him? In
Mr. Who?
I can't think of the people's names.
Laundromat on 6th Street?
He had a cleaners on
Was it
on
closer?
Potter Street.
Oh, on Potter Street.
With
Mm-hmm.
Mommy Lily.
Oh,
Mama Lily.
yeah,
Mama
Mama
Lily's.
Lily's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those skins you get in a bag at Mama
Bag of
Lily's.
skins, and I
Mm-hmm.
had the fish market, and they owned African Americans owned a lot, and they owned land too.
So, so Bragg's so I want to say, both of you came from strong black communities. You're growing up
Okay.
in Ferndale, him growing up in Tulsa, came from these places where black people had businesses, black people were professional, had careers. How did that influence you, that coming up in Ferndale?
Very much so. It influenced me because when I saw a mailman, he was black. When I saw a lady come down the street with a nursing cap on, at that time the nurse, they were black. When I saw the ice man with the ice on the back of the cars, that's because we had ice box too. Uh, that was, I saw my daddy was a carpenter, so he built houses, and he always say be independent. And I come from a family of 7 girls. I'm the 7th, and he demanded all of us to be able to build and do something for yourself.
How did that influence how you chose to live your life as a businesswoman?
Well, it's to be independent, for sure. And what happened was I came from Ferndale, which was a black community put up for African Americans that worked at Ford Motor Company. And my father worked for Ford Motor Company, coming from Canada. He came in from the West Indies, and then in Canada, and then to
Was it Panama? Was it?
he worked on the Panama Canal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it was just, I don't know, you asked me some questions.
So you grew up in a community where, black people had control over some of the economics, and they were creating their own community. And then it seemed like to me, from what I know about you, then you did some of that, you participate in that same kind of community.
Oh, I did. I mean, we had our own funeral home, our own pool hall, our own grocery stores, our own doctors. All of this was within our community. Then, so I went to a school that had all African American, and our teachers was often. So I didn't really see the other world because I was too young to go across to Detroit a little bit. So it happened when I graduated from the 8th grade and went to Lincoln High School. That was a shock because at that time you didn't wear your hair in an afro. It was just something. You had to straighten your hair. And what happened was I had swimming at this other school the first time, the first class.
The first hour.
So you beat and worked on yourself trying to look clean, and we had dirt roads. That was another thing. And by the time you had these, they were white and black shoes. By the time, you know the name of them.
Yep, I know.
And by the time you get to the school, walking down a dirt road, and then once you hit the pavement, it was a white, and I had to walk up. Now this is in Detroit, outside of Detroit, really. I had to walk 1.5 miles from 8 Mile to 9 Mile, and then over near Woodward. So it was 1.5 miles every morning, winter, summer, fall. And once you hit the pavement, you were in the white neighborhood. So coming from a community that we were so close together, and then going into the white area, and had to walk while you saw the white students riding in their mama's cars or riding on the bus the school buses getting to the school that you're going to, but yet and still you're walking. So we had to get a little attitude a little bit and sing along our way to school or run across the field and see somebody and, hey, you're going to school today, and be happy. And so it was just part of what it was. But then what happened was, when you go there, the teachers was telling me that you don't need, it's certain classes you don't need. All you need, Miss Gill, is to be to take cooking, sewing, and this is what would prepare you for your job. So what happened, my sister found out I was in the 11th grade, in the 10th grade, and she says, let me see your report card. She came home because she had a little job going. And she looked at the report card, and it was C's and B's and what have you. And looked and saw and said, Mom, because my mom and dad really didn't, they thought I was doing good. And she went to the school and said, I demand that she take typing and bookkeeping. And they told her that they could not get me in those classes, and she demanded that they put me in the class. So it was like somebody demanding for you to get what you need. And I get into class, so quite naturally I would have a complex, that maybe. Then I found out over the years that I'm dyslexic. And so it had a lot to do with my self-reliance on myself. So I beat up on myself. And then when I found out Alexis, everybody, if I'm calling the right name.
Dyslexia?
Dyslexia. Mm-hmm. Everybody might have that, but you have to get an attitude that you can't let nobody tell you can't do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what one of my sisters built to me. You can do it, no matter what.
I want to come back to these communities, these black communities like Ferndale and Saginaw and Detroit, and what you learned from them, and what you would like to see for us in 2025 in the future, as we build black communities up, or what do you think we need to learn from the past?
I think you really need to learn because you're not seeing it, because you're not seeing a lot of African Americans owning certain things. You might see them in the building, or around the building, or managing the building, but if you look in the back of it, somebody else is over it. And I think at one point in our life, we're going to have to do it ourselves. We cannot go to the bank and ask, because I want to tell you a little bit about what happened to me at the bank and what happened. But anyway, I think that we need to really focus on getting our own stuff together and stop asking. If somebody else can do it, get people that got money and try to form your own little banks and stuff like that. I'm explaining it right,
absolutely.
but I'm just.
Well, I mean, it doesn't
and
matter
also,
right or wrong, but I agree with
back
you.
in the day, when you looked at television, back in my day, and television, it was just when television was coming up. You didn't, and when you go to the show, when I used to go to the show, I used to see a person from Africa coming in, and what is the guy that was
Tarzan?
Tarzan and Jane, and then you see him boiling some Africans in the pot and all of this, and you sit there and ha ha ha, and you know in your mind all this is building up in your mind. Oh, Africa is like this, and the animals chasing them, and you say, my God, And then when you look at, I tried to get a commercial. Because tried to get with Black's beer when I was in show business, and they told me they didn't. What happened? The guy came in that sold black spirits. Said, they need some black models, you know? And so we made a portfolio, and they said they didn't need anybody at that time. So we didn't see a lot of people on television that looked like us. When Nat King Cole came on, and I think Della Reese was the first to go to Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan Show.
And then we boxing, Muhammad Ali, and we, you know, there's just a few people that you could relate to. So that's about it.
Well,
I got off.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So put me back on.
Oh no!
track.
So there's a couple of things I want to talk about. I wanted you that you're known, or you're becoming known even more for a phrase called
I be damned.
That's right. Tell me how you came to that phrase, how that became your tagline.
Oh, well, that's really like telling my life, you know. Let's see. You want to talk a little bit more about Braggs, and then I can bring it up to that.
Okay. So yeah, so I'd be happy to talk a little bit more about Braggs. So one of the things that you did say is that what was happening in places like Saginaw, and it wouldn't be just Saginaw, right? We had black communities,
all
black
over.
Wall Streets all over. And it was, in many ways, those communities, those economic communities that were fueling places like Idlewild or Woodland Park Lake, these other resorts.
Well, what happened, you know, the Paradise, what is it, the Paradise
Lake in Castle.
Valley. Down
in Detroit. Paradise
on
Valley,
Hastings.
Detroit.
Yeah, that was black clubs. John White owned one of the biggest hotels, and there was people that just House of Beauty, the big mansion, hair salon. People, what is it? Nightclubs. They were owning the nightclubs and stuff. Flame Show Bar. What Braggs did, and what his goal was, to one day to have a show that, like at the Copacabana, one of those shows. And when I say Copacabana, that was the top-notch white club.
So was he able ever to get into any of those?
What happened was, it's a lot of stories and a lot of things happened. Bragg's idea, after the show in Ottawa, he would close, and then he would go on the road and sort out other people, you know. Help me out.
Find other
entertainers, yes. And so when it became, we went to Boston, and it was a big fire, and all our costumes got burned up and everything, and I think 2 firemen died, or 1 fireman died. And so he decided, everybody thought the show was going to close, but he flew people in from New York to send out some costumes, and we worked at Louis' club in Boston. And then he got the show together, and then it closed down for the season. And he used to go to Mexico. So at that time I was in the show, and he said, I'm going to take you to Mexico, and I'm going to make you love me. And that's when you see me with the costume. Anyway, when I was in Mexico.
You were a big thing when you went down to Mexico,
yeah,
weren't you?
I was like a movie star. And they would come and take pictures, and I had my own maid, I had my own chauffeur. It was big time for me. And I really did fall in love with him.
Well, what was it that you fell in love with?
He was a man of his word. If he tell you something, he meant it. And it was the respect. I learned a lot from him by not seeing it. I mean, not, you know, like being taught, but just by watching, I learned a lot.
What would you say would be the top 3 business practices that you learned from Braggs?
To be honest, be truthful with people, and demand respect. Mm.
So that comes back to that, to me, that I'll be damned, right?
Okay. So anyway, what happened to show? Uh, he decided, like, say, well, okay, everybody think I'm gonna quit this show. So he went to Mexico. We were in Mexico, and we went way up on the hill to meet, and the lights and the skylight. And that club, it was the first time I ever saw where had no ceiling in it. And the bands was playing and everything, and he talked to the people, and he brought the people back to United States.
Oh, that's right, I remember.
And we were the biggest hit, the Mexicans and us together. And he had Leon Escobar, which was a famous dancer in Mexico City, because I went to Mexico City too. And at that time, Braggs would not get me involved in the numbers, but he had a meeting with the James boys. James brothers? Do you know about?
Not off the top.
Okay, the James brothers are, if I got the name right or what have you, was the ones that was in Chicago over the numbers, and he knowed them. But I stayed in the hotel, and he left and went and met with them. And then come back. He kept whatever he was doing away from me, so that if the police come, I couldn't tell them anything. You know what I mean? And I respected that. So he ended up during that time, bringing the show, the Mexicans into United States, and it was a big hit.
So Escobar, did they perform at Idlewild too?
Yes, we performed in Idlewild,
then
we went on the road.
How many folks did he bring from Mexico?
It had to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 12. Two boys.
So then he integrated it.
He integrated the African Americans in with and they had the bongos, and at that time had a chicken fight. He was like a witch doctor or something, and we couldn't do that ritual, so they would dance and dance, and it was one of the people said they had never seen a show like that before, and we had costumes on it. You had to see the pictures.
I know, I've seen those pictures. They're amazing.
So he ended up. We go on the road and everything. Then we ended up the number business began to get kind of slacking, where the money wasn't coming in as fast, and the government was beginning to watch and try to slow you down from playing for the numbers in the neighborhood and stuff like that. And then in show business, it was just that he had got tired. And then the people in Ottawa, he was telling them integration was coming in and everything. And he was telling the people there, you're going to have to do something. I mean, he's going on the road. What made Idlewild different than any other neighborhood was that he would, like the other resorts, would have big names, just like he did. And I don't know about the showgirls or what have you, but they would have big shows. And Duke Ellington and stuff on the island, and the island with the beaches and all of that. But what made Idlewild different was that we would go on the road afterwards, Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York, all over these little small towns and what have you, Indianapolis, and different places. And so the people would see the show, and then they would come back to Ottawa and say, where's this place at? Let me go up, And so that's what made Ottawa different than the rest of those. And so
you said there was resistance. What was he trying to tell people?
Okay, doing segregation, beginning with Martin Luther King was talking, and then big, things that was going on. And Braggs could see that integration was going to be opening up so the blacks be able to go different places. So he talked to the people that was there at the time and said, look, you guys is going to have to start doing something. You can't just put these shacks up and then expect people to come up here and pay money to stay here. And I never forget, and I would always say it. He went to this meeting and was telling the people what to do. And a lady stood up and said, let me tell you, Mr. Braggs, Idlewild will be Idlewild with you or without you. And he came out, and these are words I heard from myself. So he said, I am so tired. Honey, if you would come, just be with me and stay with me, I'm gonna have to start doing something different. So that's how that all started.
And so, so you came to Saginaw. Braggs got out of the show business. And you finished beauty school. And you all studied.
He said if I finished beauty school and do it well, he would open me up the most beautiful salon it was. And I worked hard at it, and I had the most beautiful salon.
You sure did.
Yeah. You said
Yep,
you sure did.
You sure did.
Yeah.
You did.
And I brought a lot of the information that I had learned on the road, like having a receptionist and serving wine or serving something to entertain the people while they're sitting. Had a receptionist. And I ended up having.
And so I think we're going to start to close it out. But I want to talk real quickly about. So you started a beauty school.
What happened was I told Braggs this. My mother always told me, whatever you do, be the best at it. So I held this bottle of champagne up that we were serving, and said, one day, honey, I'm going to open up a beauty school. So what happened was, I put the time on it, and put the bottle in the back. So anyway, years go by, 20-some years go by. That bottle is still sitting in the back. So anyway, he passes away. Braggs passed away, and then I had to try to develop myself into something more. So I got that bottle of wine, and I looked at it, back in the closet. Okay, and so I started to open up a beauty school. I had laid the foundation for it, like won championships in Hawaii with hair, and developed my own technique and stuff. But I became kind of famous in it. So anyway, I had money at that time. So I said, I'll open up a beauty school. So I got the foundation, went to the banks, to make it short, went to the banks and said, look, I'm going to open up a beauty school. I moved out of my salon because I owned the building and moved in another building and completed the building, and it came September, got everything together, got some contracts together, went back to the bank and said, I need help now. I've showed you that I could open up a school. The school is open. They tell me, I'm sorry, Miss Gill, we cannot help you because you are an existing business. And I say, I be damned. And that's when I be damned came in. I went downtown, rented a building, to make it short, rented a building, went to Detroit, got some furniture and put in there, built it up, went back to the bank, changed Saginaw Beauty Academy on, put Saginaw Barber College on it, and changed some of the rules, and opened up that barber school. And then they told me, at that time, Braggs, I was in the beauty business, and he was in the horse business. We lived on a farm, and we were breeding horses, and his goal was to have a horse that would run in the Kentucky Derby. And I have been down in the Kentucky Derby, and he died at the racetrack in West Virginia. And we had 4 horses in at the time, and I'll tell you more about that story. And when I had to take over the horse business too, along with the beauty business, I said, I'd be damned. When the men told me that they would sell some of my horses for $1 on a penny, like soap, and I said, I'd be damned. And I had to put a tape recorder on me, and I would record talking to a man or the men in the business, and then I go home, listen to that tape, and find out how I sound, and then I would go back and say, I'd be damned. But I wouldn't tell them that. I'd be damned if you do this for me. So anyway.
I want to back up. You said you were kind of famous. You were very famous.
I didn't think so.
But
I still don't. It was just hard work.
You were an innovator in hair at the time, right?
I won several awards.
And didn't you kind of innovate work in weave?
Oh yeah, and I won a championship in Hawaii and in Austin, Texas. But
so you really took weave to another
a different
level.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you said you were kind of famous, very famous.
And worked in California with some of the big church people and what have you. They would fly in and fly me in.
So as we close out today, we want to invite people to come tonight for the Paradise conversation with you and Deborah Jones, who is the niece of Malcolm X and the granddaughter of Louise Little. We have a host of people from Cass County, from Paradise Lake in southwest Michigan, and Brandy Carson from Twin Pines Roost outside of Three Rivers. So we want to invite people to come to that.
Sure.
PMN will be there, as I understand it, doing some recordings, so they'll be able to see some details about it. But we've talked about I'll Be Damned a little bit. You've got a play coming up, right?
Yes, it's going to be in Fort Worth, Texas, and one of the playwriters saw my story, and they've been we're doing in the last rehearsal for it, and it will be next year.
February 2026.
Yes.
Let me make my as soon as you find out when. Let me make my reservation.
And the name of it is I'd Be Damned. F. You put that F on there for me. Yeah, because there's a lot that I would like to. What I was doing in my school was encouraging people. I not only taught them how to do hair, but I taught them how to try. Back in the day, we didn't believe in paying taxes. We believed that money that we made had to be stuck in a pillow or up under, and we didn't trust the banks. So you had to get that mentality out.
So you would help
the kids only with business.
Because you also then you owned some property in Saginaw. You were doing it.
I ended up opening up a mini mall. So yeah, I did. When they tell me I couldn't do it, I say I'll be damned.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us and spending this time. And you know how much you mean to me and how much I've learned from you, and even learned from Braggs from the stories that you've told me about him.
Okay.
I remain committed to creating these communities and to remembering the past and to empowering Black people, and you just are always the gold standard for excellence in business.
Well, thank you so much.
I see myself as you and Bragg's descendant in business. So thank you for everything that you've done and will continue to do to make sure that we remember not just Idlewild. Idlewild is important, but Ferndale and Detroit and Saginaw, because we couldn't have not one of them without the other. And so thank you for making sure that we remember those connections and coming more and more and more to validating yourself and validating your story. And so your journey of coming to greater self-esteem is an inspiring one that I think many of us can learn from. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And I always give God the glory, the thanks. You know, a lot of people ask me, why did you name it I Be Damned? But I think it's something that the universe and God gave me. Say, okay, Carlean, I gave you your mind, so use it, and use it for good. Help people. So that's it.
Well, thank you for helping us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Of
Love you.
course. I love you so much.